Welcome. Today we are going to look at the characteristics of a covenant demonstrated between God and Abraham. Then we look at the reasons why church leaders take vows before starting their missions. And lastly, we look at the features of marriage that qualifies it as a covenant. Characteristics of a covenant demonstrated between God and Abraham. So remember, always when you hear about characteristics of a covenant, you should always give 6 points. Promises, should give how it is sealed, or the sacrifices, the agreement, the witnesses, the conditions, and the sign. So number 1, in a covenant, many promises are made. God made many promises to Abraham. For example, he would bless him with a son. A covenant is sealed. The covenant between God and Abraham was sealed through the blood of sacrificed animals, like a heifer 3 years old. Number 3, a covenant is made between two parties who enter into a mutual agreement. God and Abraham entered into a mutual agreement. A covenant has witnesses. God was the sole initiator of the covenant, and he passed through the sacrifices as the witness to the covenant. Covenants have obligations to be observed, or rather, you can just say covenants have obligations to be followed, or covenants have conditions. The covenant between God and Abraham was an everlasting one from generation to generation. A covenant has an outward sign. Abraham was to circumcise all his male children, or rather, was to circumcise all his descendants to show that they had entered into a covenant relationship with God. So here is about the outward sign. Reasons why the church leaders in Kenya take vows before starting their missions. Number 1, to emulate the way servants of God were commissioned in the Bible, to get blessings from God, or rather, you can just say to get guidance from God. It makes the leader brave to do God's work. It was a way of showing one's willingness to serve God, or rather, it was a way of showing one's commitment to serve God. It reminds the church leader to obey church regulations. Rather, it reminds the church leader the church's mission, or the mission to focus on. Through taking of vows, church leaders receive authority of God to lead. Church leaders receive acknowledgement from the people being served. Features of marriage that qualifies it as a covenant. So, number 1, marriage certificate acts as a seal that binds the marriage. There are witnesses, that is, church members, family members, parents, and clan. Marriage involves two parties, the bride and the bridegroom and their families. So the main parties are the bride and the bridegroom. Rings are exchanged as a symbol of unity, or as a sign of unity. The bride and the bridegroom promise to remain faithful to one another. Thus, marriage should be permanent, or is permanent. Lastly, exchange of vows is done in the church through a ceremony. Did you understand? Let me know in the comment section and what you want I look at tomorrow. Thanks a lot for subscribing and listening to me. God bless you.